It's gone live now. Let's see. Go live. Do that, eh?
I'll add that to stage 2. Hello, Mr.
Hi, hi.
Rhodrick.
Good
Nice
morning.
to
Hi.
see you. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm okay. Blessings. I'm all right.
Okay, we're going to start shortly. I want to invite. I want to send a reminder to my boss and Mr. Rajan, and then
Okay.
some.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. I spoke with him in the morning, Mr. Rajan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I told him that.
So, it's okay. So, what are you trying to say there?
How is the weather in Nigeria?
The weather today is quite friendly.
Okay.
Anyway, it's still morning. You
All right.
know, after a while now, we would have this crazy sun.
Ah.
Abuja is hot generally.
How are you in Abuja? Okay.
Yes, I'm in Abuja. Okay. I think we can start here.
All right.
Okay. Good morning, viewers. Good morning, Mr. Rhodrick, Junaid. Nice to have you.
Thank you
Good
very much.
morning.
Thank you.
Good morning, Abuja. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, all our viewers. My name is Rotarian Bibi Kalakala, and I'm the Director of Programs for the Ugumba Center for Leadership Development in Africa. You're all welcome to our live show. This is our live talk show, and we do this once every month. Today, we are presenting a top intellect, a Malawian born, an expert in his field. We're presenting no other than Rhodrick Junaid Kalumpha. Rhodrick Junaid Kalumpha is a Malawian born finance, trade, and investment professional based in the United Kingdom, known for combining technical expertise with a deep commitment to social impact and community development, ACCA qualified. He has built a reputation as a strategic thinker and civic-minded leader, advocating for digital transformation, good governance, and sustainable economic growth in Malawi. Rhodrick is widely recognized for his efforts to modernize Malawi's economy through digital innovation, from promoting mobile finance and e-commerce to encouraging transparency and accountability in public institutions. He actively engages with diaspora communities, which is one of the reasons why we have him on this show today, connecting talents, resources, and ideas back to Malawi to empower local communities and foster sustainable development. And we're bringing him to do this with Nigeria this time, encouraging our talents and resources, giving back his resources not only to Malawians, but also to Nigerians and across Africa. I'm sure, Rhodrick, we're going to be doing this in other parts of Africa soon.
Well, that's the aim. Thank you.
Philanthropy is a central part of Rhodrick's work. He serves as a trustee of Malawi Healthcare Support UK. Mahekas support a local farmers in accessing better markets and actively participates in initiatives that promote education, healthcare, and community resilience. He is also a long-time supporter of the Muslim Awards, sponsoring the event every year since its inception. Oh, wow. Through this platform, he uplifts and celebrates excellence in arts, education, leadership, and culture within Malawi's Muslim community, demonstrating his commitment to nurturing talent and promoting social cohesion. Known for bridging global perspectives with local realities, Rhodrick combines professional gravities with genuine social concern. He shares insights on economic development, digital transformation, and civic engagement, inspiring young leaders and advocating for a Malawi that is digitally empowered, economically resilient, and socially inclusive. Right now, Rhodrick, I feel so jealous, and I am going to take you from Malawi and bring you to Nigeria. when you're updating your bio next time, I will see Nigeria, Malawi, Nigeria, Malawi.
Okay, no problem. Blessings.
Today, we have Rhodrick, and he's going to take us on how to build sustainable national prosperity, the role of diaspora in rebranding and enhancing the viability of key African jurisdictions. I'm excited, and I'm sure every other person is excited. Everyone, join me to welcome Mr. Rhodrick Junaid Kalumpha. Over to you. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me, Blessings. And it's an absolute honor, It has always been my objective or my aim or my goal to actually, have a platform or share what I've been doing over the years. Well, you have summarized it brilliantly. So I am Malawian by origin. I was born in Malawi, raised in Malawi. But then my education took me outside Malawi because I went to Asia as well. I studied in Malaysia for 4 or 5 years. And then after 5 years from Malaysia, I came to the United Kingdom, where I did my postgraduate education at the University of Durham. So I did my MSc in International Finance and Investments. This was in 2003, 2004. And then from there, I became a chartered accountant, as you said, and then I've been in the industry, so I've been working in the trading commodities. So mainly we trade soft commodities. And I've been blessed to say that most of my career has been focusing on bringing commodities from Africa to the world. So we trade in commodities, tea, macadamia, coffee, and mainly from East Africa, and then going into Asia. You're talking about Japan, even America. We also sell to Europe. So these markets, they give you different perspectives, because if you are an African and you want to you want to deliver your product to a country like Japan is known for its quality, so you have to be among the best of the best. They are not really like other markets. So through those travels, I have gained much experience on how international trade and how development and how we can actually sustain Africa, bring it to the next level. But then, in my free time, I have also been able to look at the social sector, where even though I have been based in the United Kingdom for the past 25 years, I have made sure that I always bring back into Africa the social aspect, where I have been involved in things like, like healthcare in Malawi, social services. So, centers like the Ugumba Leaders Development Center, this is what Africa actually needs. This is the most important, platform that we can give Africans, and not only Africans in places like Nigeria, but connecting their diaspora. Because I always say, wherever I go, I always say that, the development of Africa and African countries, is inextricably bound to the development of its diaspora. We have so many countries outside the world that have actually developed using many resources from its diaspora. And Africa, if Africa can tap into this resource, I can say that we have a bright future. And that's what brings us here to look at, sustainable development and how we can bring it on the next level for Africa.
Okay, we're hearing you. We're listening to you, Mr.
Yes, yeah. So I wanted to bring to your attention, like some of the countries that have actually benefited a lot from Africa. You look at, from the diaspora. You look at countries like Nigeria. Nigeria has actually benefited a lot of development from its diaspora, but mainly in form of remittances. And then if you look at Ethiopia have built what they call the Grand Renaissance Dam, using specifically from remittances from diaspora, where they have issued, like things like the diaspora bond. But you can also talk about Senegal. Senegal has actually benefited a lot, like from its diaspora remittances. The same with Gambia, and also not to mention Kenya. Now, Kenya is quite interesting because their model is not only remittances from the Africans who are in diaspora or the Kenyans who are in diaspora, but they have also tried to tap into foreign direct investment. So they have been able to build and channel their economies and grow it, and then be able to say, okay, we have our diaspora, which is earning good monies. People are actually making money out there. They're able to develop. And then how can we use the resources that is available through this channel? Unfortunately, like when I look at countries like Malawi or Nigeria, or let's take Nigeria for an example. I am in England, and some of the richest Africans in the UK or in England, or you go in any part of the UK, Nigerians among the top. But as a country, Nigeria, I think it doesn't have a policy to say, how can we tap, the resources that are available out there, in the UK, in US, in Europe, to actually drive growth for Nigeria. Because we have got a lot of people in the UK who are Nigerians. They want to help in Malawi. I mean, like not only Malawi, sorry, because I'm always talking about Malawi, so my mind is always tuned up to Malawi. But they always want to help to see how Nigeria can go on to the next level, but they don't have the avenues, So there is no sustainable development that is being generated from the diaspora remittances. Or the diaspora foreign direct investment in Nigeria, So what we need for African government, is to actually say, okay, here is a policy. Let us have a diaspora desk, within our economy, so that we can actually be able to drive development, and then also use the diaspora resources that are available there to say that, okay, what opportunities out there, that are available that we can bring into Nigeria, or we can bring into Africa itself. So it's a two-way. For me, I always look at it as a two-way communication. We have people like myself and so many Nigerians, so many Africans who are here. We have the resources, we have the capability, we have the skills to say, okay, this is what we can bring to Africa. This is what we can bring to Nigeria, we can bring to Malawi, we can bring to Ghana, we can bring to Senegal. But we don't have that window of opportunity to say, okay, this is the entry point, you see? So, and that's where, leadership centers like the Ugumba Leadership Center comes in, to engage, to say, okay, guys, here is what Nigeria is looking for in the next 5 years. Here is what the whole of Africa is looking for in the next 5 years. Where can we look for the, the similarities? Where can we converge, as Africans, to develop and bring the next generation of development and sustainable development? Because the key here is always sustainable development. Because you can develop. There's always, development. Everybody's talking about development. If you go to any African leader, any African, politician, they'll talk about development, but they don't talk about sustainable development, because it's easy to develop. You can come up with a bridge. Everybody thinks like, okay, we will do a bridge here. We'll build a hospital there. We'll build a school there, and then that's the end of it. But you see, what you need to think of is, how can we sustain? How do we make sure that, this development is continuous? And this is where Africa is always lagging, This is where Africa is always lagging. And then when we have all this gap of between what Africa is having and what the diaspora is also, in terms of skill and resources, is having, we converge through leadership, development centers that we have. We can make sure that we have sustainable development. Or, for instance, what was happening, in Rwanda. Rwanda, everybody now is talking about technology, like IT, how they have developed in terms of IT. But Rwanda, what they did at the beginning was to identify what is it that they can uniquely offer, like to their people or to Africa at large. And then they made sure that the IT sector was one of the sectors that they identified where they wanted to channel a lot of investment into that center. So they made sure that they engaged their diaspora to say that, okay, here's the area that we are looking for. Okay, here's the area that we want to invest. Here's the area that we want to make a difference. And then what is it that the diaspora can actually do? So the diaspora said that, okay, fine, we've got the resources, we've got the skills, we've got the network, and then we will work together. You as Rwandans in Rwanda, you create the environment where we can actually foster, this development, and then we'll work together. Because what people don't understand a lot is that, yes, you can have the resources, you can have the goodwill, you can have, because every other African, they want to develop. No African there will go and say that, no, we don't want to be developed. Everybody wants to be developed. They want to be, the next, I don't know, how can I put it? The next fastest growing economy. We have had leaders, who would say that, okay, we want to be the next Singapore, and then people will be like, but Singapore is so developed. What people don't understand is that in 1976, Singapore was far less developed as compared to most of the countries in Africa. In fact, the Singaporean government, the Singaporean officials, they were actually coming to Africa to actually learn how to do some of the things. For instance, Malaysia actually went to Ghana to see how they could develop their palm oil industry. Today, Malaysia is one of the biggest exporters of palm oil. And if you look at Ghana, you cannot compare. Ghana is far, far behind. Singapore, as I said earlier on, was far less developed than some of the African countries. In fact, it was on par with places like Malawi, Tanzania. But if you look at Singapore today, their GDP per capita is almost $28,000. And if you look at Malawi, you look at Tanzania, it's less than $1,000 per capita. So the key, what I'm trying to say is that, yes, we can talk about development. Everybody wants to develop. But how do you sustain that development? What kind of development that we can actually bring to Africa? Because, Africa is exciting. Africa is exciting. It's when we go into these conferences, everybody talks about Africa because one is got the human resource. Not only that, we've got the youngest population in the world. When you look at Africa and compare to some of these developed countries in terms of population demographics, Africa has got some of the most brightest, most vibrant population. Most of our population is under 35 years old. And then when you compare that to countries like Germany, where most of the population is very old and, either above 60, their growth rates in terms of their birth rates are very minimal. So Africa provides a huge potential to the world, but the key is that, do we ourselves as Africans realize that? Do we understand the resources, the potential that we've got to actually develop? Because everybody thinks that, no, technology has to actually come from outside into Africa. But I always tell people that, no, we've got cases where technology has actually started in Africa and then go outside world. For instance, one of the most success stories in the last 20 years is what they call the M-Pesa, in Kenya, M-Pesa. So M-Pesa is, like a money sending platform, that uses mobile and uses what they call the SSID technology. This allows, users to actually send money through mobile. And this was actually developed in Kenya. It was not developed anywhere. It was not developed in the UK. It was not developed. It was actually developed in Kenya using mobile technology. And before the world actually caught up that there was this technology, Kenya was actually advanced. That's why you find that mobile money transfers in Africa are some of the largest volumes compared to anywhere in the world. if you go to my village, like as the like the host was saying earlier on, I get involved in a lot of projects in villages across Malawi. Most of the people are non-banked. They don't have bank accounts. All they have is a simple non-smartphone phone. But we are able to actually transfer money to even old people, people who are 75 years old, who don't even know how the internet works. All they have is a simple mobile. And how was that actually enabled? It was actually developed by Africans in Africa for Africans. You see? So technology that is developed by Africans for Africans in Africa itself, not from anywhere else, because everybody thinks like, okay, if we have to develop and have sustainable development, we have to actually look for development from Japan, development coming from Korea. No, this is a wrong mindset. We can actually develop sustainably by using the resources that we have. In my working with young Malawians, I have realized that some of the most brightest, sharp minds in terms of technology are actually in Malawi itself. So some of the projects, I don't even have to use UK resources or UK developers. I will send them to Malawi. In fact, not only in Malawi, I even do in Nigeria, because I've got businesses that I run, like on a personal level. Some of the websites are actually hosted in Nigeria. So you can see that's a classic example where we've got the diaspora, like myself, working with Nigerian developers. By doing that, I am able to develop these young minds, young talent who are hungry for, who are thirsty for progress. You see, so these are the things, the opportunities that we can actually generate by making sure that the diaspora is actually working with the locals in this case, like people on the ground. You see, so as I was saying, the key in all this, it will require a big mindset shift, because our mindset as Africans, we always think like the best comes from outside. Okay, but no, the best doesn't come from outside. The best is actually within us. And the diaspora for me is actually a window for Africa, like African development institutions, like the leadership center, in this case, the Ugumba leaders, to actually say, okay, what is actually out there that you can bring as a diaspora, Now, one of the things that I wanted to touch on is today is like the branding of African countries, because believe you me, when you travel into all these conferences and you go for meetings, what Africa suffers a lot from is not only the resources, but it's actually the bad press. Africa for a long period of time has been given a bad press. Many people, when they talk about investment in Africa, they will say, oh no, but you will not be able to actually recoup your funds. There's so much corruption, you lose your money. But I always say that, like anywhere in the world where you want, as a diaspora, as an African diaspora, to invest and be able to make good returns on your investment is actually in Africa. That's why all these big companies, they have realized that, Africa is key to their development. No corporation in today's world, whether it is technology or whether it is in terms of trading commodities, the normal commodities, the soya, the beans, the cocoa, everything. No one talks about any of those transactions, any of those trades, without actually making Africa part of the conversation. But the problem is that we ourselves as Africans, do we actually sit on the table and be able to talk about this? No, we haven't been. I would say we are not the best marketers of ourselves. We are not the best salespeople of Africa. So this is where now we come to mindset change and also rebranding. We need to rebrand as a people. We need to rebrand. When you talk about Nigeria, for instance, out there, back in the days, 5 years ago, people would say that, okay, Nigeria, no, don't go to Nigeria because Nigeria is full of 419, everybody's going to scam you, and everybody's out to make a quick buck and all those kind of things. That's what the world was told. That's what the people were being, like the investors were being sold, that Nigeria is corrupt. Yes, there's corruption, but I always argue that, you see, unfortunately, the corruption that is always seen is only the one that is for Africa. But there's corruption everywhere. There's corruption in the United Kingdom. The only difference is that maybe the corruption that happens in the United Kingdom or in America or everywhere is that they deliver. In Africa, we are corrupt, we don't deliver. Some people. I was listening to, the former Prime Minister of Kenya, Laila Odinga, may he so rest in peace, when he died. He always used to tell a story. In this story, he says that there was a Nigerian, according to him, there was a Nigerian minister who had gone to Malaysia for an official function. And when he reached there, he met his counterpart, who was also Minister of Transport and Works, and they were having dinner. And he was sitting in a very big house. And the Nigerian minister asked the Malaysian minister to say, wow, you've got a big house. How did you make this big house? It looks really big, it's grand, everything. You've got a swimming pool. How did you make this house? So he said, oh yeah. So he took the Nigerian minister and brought him to a balcony and said that, okay, can you see there? Can you see that highway? So the Nigerian minister was like, oh yeah, I can see the highway. I can see it's really built. It's really nice. Everything is going. There's a lot of traffic. It looks beautiful, brilliant, like investment. And then the Malaysian minister turned and said, yeah, because I am the Minister of Transport and Works, I was responsible for that highway. All the 10% proceeds from that highway are the ones that I kept for myself, and I built this house. So the Nigerian minister was like, wow, this is brilliant. And then he went back to Nigeria. So when he went back to Nigeria, he was working. And then one day it was the turn for the Malaysian minister to come back to Nigeria to say, to visit his friend. So when they were having dinner, this Nigerian minister had like a even bigger house, massive, it's like a whole compound, the whole city. He owned the whole street was owned by him. And then the Malaysian minister was wondering, like, my friend, you have even done better than me. You have done so well, so much better than myself. How did you make all this? And then the Nigerian minister took him to the balcony and then said that, oh yeah, my friend, come, I'll show you something. So he said, okay, can you see there across? Can you see there is something like a little kind of a road? You can see like some kind of a road. He said, I can't see. There's no road there. He said, yeah, because that's 10%, but I kept the 90% for myself. So I used 10% for that road, the 90% for so you can see what the Prime Minister of Kenya was saying, that you look. People are corrupt everywhere, but yes, we don't condone corruption. Corruption is bad. We shouldn't. It hampers development. It hampers sustainability in every aspect. It's one of the social ills that is actually killing Africa. But my point is that we have been gung ho, in terms of talking about corruption in Nigeria, corruption in Malawi, in Africa. What we need to do, we need to be the brand ambassadors for Africa. We need to be able to rebrand our countries to say that, yes, there are these evils that are actually going on, but there's a whole lot better things that are actually Africa is, in terms of the resources that we have, in terms of the youth that we have, in terms of the zeal for success. Because if you go to Lagos, I haven't been to Lagos, but I've been to so many African cities, the hustle and bustle, the hunger for success among the youth is nowhere seen. You cannot compare the hunger for success and development among African youth to youth in the Western world, because the Western world, most of the time, what they want to do is be on social media and complain. Recently, I wanted to go back to a personal example that I did, that I've had with Nigeria. There is, the recent guy who passed away in South Africa. I think he was one of the, I've forgotten his name. He recently died. He went with one Untouchable and others. So the young man died and all that. But before that, I had sent an artist from Malawi to Nigeria. I personally sponsored him. Well, I co-sponsored him with some other people, but he made with his Nigerian friends. Now, what they do is they compete on food, on who can eat a lot of food, you know. Now, I know everybody is going to say that, but that's just food. That's just, like gluttony. Why are you sponsoring gluttony? We should be talking about healthy living and all those kind of things. But what I always argue is that, like talent is different. These are young men who are trying to make a difference in any other aspect that they can do. Because by saying that, okay, we want to organize a competition that is focusing on eating and food, what they're trying to do is to market Nigerian food. You understand? What they are trying to do is like to market Nigerian cuisine, because when you go into the international world, people talk about the Chinese cuisine, the Korean cuisine. Right now in the Western world, Korean cuisine is a buzz among the youth, of the Western world. Everybody wants to have kimchi, everybody wants to have, Korean noodles. And then you've got like sushi, which is Japanese, and then you've got like Chinese and all those kind. Within China, you've got Cantonese, and then you've got the Italian cuisine. Now, people don't talk about maybe the Nigerian cuisine. You understand what I mean? So my point is that yes, people will criticize me and say that, oh yeah, but you are sponsoring these young men just to eat and all that. No, by doing that, I am sponsoring Nigerian food. I am bringing Nigerian food to the world. So 10 years or 20 years from now, when I'm gone, I'm hoping that, like the Michelin style chefs in London will be serving Nigerian food. We'll be able to say that, okay, I want to walk into this restaurant and I'll have, maybe ogbono soup. You understand what I mean? So these are the things that actually rebrands Nigeria. These are the issues that it starts from small by empowering these young men and women, these young artists, to say that, okay, fine, we know it's just some food, people gather, and then they're not. And this was actually happening in Nigeria itself, but it was widely, we would have views of 100,000. So my point is that we've got the talent, we've got the skills, we've got the resources. Everybody is clamoring for our resources, apart from ourselves, because we don't know as Africans what is it that we have. As I said earlier on, we are not the largest, we are not the best marketers of ourselves. We are not the best saleswomen and salesmen of our continent, of our countries. So we need to move away from saying, oh, Nigeria is a bad place for investment. Everybody is a scammer. No, not everybody is a scammer.
Okay, Mr. Rhodrick, I'd have to just cut you short a little bit, because I want this to be very interactive. But before I go ahead to say something, I'd like to welcome the chairman of the Board of Advisories, International Board of Advisories of Ugumba Leadership Center. And he is Mr. Rajan Nazran. Mr. Rajan has taken time out of his very busy schedule to be with us in this studio today. I would want Mr. Rajan to just say a brief word to our viewers before we continue. Mr. Rajan.
I was actually listening into a lot of things that Rhodrick was mentioning, and it's remarkable because this is what Nigeria needs, isn't it? As a center, what we've done well under the leadership of His Excellency Uche Ugumba is that we provided a voice for many of the people in Nigeria to not only have a look at entrepreneurship as a way for national prosperity building, but also to change the way in which we look at Africa. And to hear real African voices, people like Rhodrick with his incredible background, not only in the commodity trade, but also what he's doing for his own nation, Malawi. Aren't these the conversations that we need more now than ever? I love how Rhodrick was mentioning something earlier, saying it's time to change the narrative around the way that people look towards the continent. We've done that as a center time and time again by doing some of the largest events, big events across Nigeria, bringing women as well as the youth together. But what Rhodrick supposes to go even further is saying now's the time collectively that we provide a better voice a stronger voice, and a voice of certainty, not only to international investors, but also to change the way people look at the governments. And I think the joke that you told just now is a perfect example, because this is what we hear, and likewise at the center, we constantly hear these things. People put down Nigeria because of false noise, because of stereotypes and accusations. When do we ever hear about the great talent that's leading the nations going forward in things like AI, artificial intelligence, in things such as banking, in things such as sustainability? And a lot of the problems around the world will have solutions from within Africa. So I just want to say on my behalf, as a chairman for the International Advisory Committee, that it's an absolute privilege to have wonderful guests on that not only showcase the future of where Africa is heading to, but also importantly are able to stitch together not only the professional credibility of the world of work that they do, but the social impact as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rajan. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Okay, moving forward, Mr. Rhodrick Junaid, the Nigerian actor who actually died is called Odera Nwobu. And
yes.
Okay, talking about that, up until today, I'm sure a lot of people don't know exactly what caused his death, but we still mourn after all. And now, somewhere you said you sponsored a program where they're like eating competition, and that is portraying Nigerian food. I'm so excited to know that some of our food. You went ahead to mention ogbono soup. Is that the only soup, Nigerian soup or the only one you've tested? And going by that, I would also want, there are other ways that we can portray Nigerian foods. And I'm going to, first and foremost, I know that we're going to partner with you to do a lot of things. I had that discussion with you yesterday, and you promised that, yes, we're going to do that. So I'm going to...
Rajan is here, so he's I'm on his leash.
Good. That is very, I'm excited to hear that, and I want to return thanks to Mr. Rajan. So I'm going to ask, what other aspects do you think that you can actually portray the image of Africa and Nigeria positively to the world if we take away our cultural food? I know that culture is diversified, and from the look of things, African culture is almost the same thing. We have a lot of similarities in our cultures. So what other culture or similar cultures do you think Nigeria and country like Malawi, let me use Malawi, and maybe other countries like Zambia or a few other countries have in common that we can actually gather together to build and use to sell Africa?
I think that's a very good point. On the Nigerian food, I actually not only ogbono soup, I know eforiro, I know eba. So
wow, that's good.
I'm pretty good. My next thing is that I need to take Rajan to one of these restaurants so that like for his things that he's done for me, I need to take him and make sure he tries these ones in London. Yeah. So no, Rajan pointed out to AI. And I think quantum physics at the moment. But before I touch on that one, I wanted to touch on your point on culture, like how we can bring culture. Last week, it's interesting because last week, Rajan and myself, we had a meeting with one of the biggest international artists from Malawi. Okay. Yeah. And this artist has actually done collaborations with some of your Nigerian artists. I can't remember whether it was Pantura King or Two-Face. I think it could have been Two-Face Idibia. So, and what we were discussing in that was how we can use culture to develop. Now, do you remember? I'll take you back in terms of music. When we had Two-Face Idibia coming up, and then we had P Square. That time, people, the only African music they were listening to was the Congolese music, the rumba, the sukusa, the kwasa kwasa, Koffi Olomide and everybody. That's what everybody used to know. This we are talking about 2002, 2004. And then Two-Face Idibia came, then P-Square. They brought the Afrobeat. Then we have all these artists like Davido, Wizkid, which are Nigerians, Now Nigeria actually gave Afrobeat to the world. And I was in Singapore, I think a couple of years back, and I couldn't believe that in the streets they were actually playing Wizkid music, And I was telling my companion, I said, this is Singapore. How are they playing all these Nigerian African music? So one of the biggest exporters of from Africa in the last 20 years has been our music, Afrobeat, where now even our artists are being given the accolades on in America. So we have used that. The next is the food, but as Rajan was saying, the critical thing right now is AI and quantum computing. I was looking at statistics yesterday about, I think, quantum computing yesterday, and where we have China is leading, I think, with 29,000, trademarks or something like that. And then you've got the next one is Japan, then America, then UK 2,000. But when you look at all those statistics, there's no Africa there. However, I guarantee you, if you go to America and say that, okay, can we dissect this? You will find that there will be some Nigerians within those trademarks that have been. Now, we need to tell that story. We need to rebrand and say that, look, some of our skills and talent is actually within the AI industry. Some of our people who are working for Google or for all these big IT are actually Africans, and not only Africans, but Africans from Nigeria. I'm sure Rajan may have met some of the people who are in these industries through his travels and all that, but nobody talks about them. You understand? And that's where it's key to rebrand. Nobody is going to rebrand Africa or Nigeria or Malawi apart from Malawians and Nigerians.
Do you think, though, Rhodrick, think this is a case of a lack of willingness, or is it a lack of know-how from both the countries in terms of promoting themselves, especially ministries of tourism, as well as the artists understanding this is how big the stage is?
I think for me, Rajan, the big letdown has always been the officials back home. Okay? Because if you talk about every African in the diaspora, they always talk about home. And when you ask them, where is home? They'll tell you it's Nigeria, it's in Malawi. But you have been here for 30 years. They'll say that, no, my friend. So to answer your question, the big letdown, it's not the know-how, it's the willingness of our officials in Malawi, in Nigeria, in Kenya, to say that, okay, guys, here's the platform. Yes, we do have, platforms like the Leadership Center, which are doing brilliant work. But these have to be showed up. These have to actually be, how can I say, fostered using the government network, the government machinery, because at the end of the day, the government still remains a big player.
Yeah,
that's my view on that.
That's interesting. If we were to fast forward from here, and now we have a look at things like AI, we're seeing ChatGPT being able to produce music that nobody else could have ever done before.
Yes.
Where do you think Africa's going to have its own chain within that value portfolio? Because now all of a sudden you've got Afrobeats that can be replicated in a studio in New York in the matter of moments. By taking snap-it chances. What does that do for the entire orange economy of a continent?
Well, it's going to be a big challenge. It's going to be a big challenge because, as you're saying, Rajan, Afrobeat right now is actually even played by some of the artists who are not in Africa. If you look at what's that guy who does? There's this Chris Brown. Yeah, he's one of the biggest. He's one of the biggest, promoters of Afrobeat, and he's not from Africa. So it's just a matter of time for us to actually lose that that
momentum. And that's exactly where we're going for, isn't it?
And that's where we're going from. So for me, now it's where we have, like the leadership center to engage in our youth, because, Afrobeat and all this cultural, we're talking about Afrobeat in the realm of technology, right?
Yeah.
Because we should not lose that, because the technology is what is underpinning all these changes. As I was saying, I use developers in Nigeria for some of my projects. The capability is there, Rajan. Blessings, the capability is there. We have the technical know-how, but do we have the empowerment from the officials? Is there any official who has woken up today and say, okay, fine, this is the technology that I would want to work for the youth. This is where the youth that I want to do. So until we have that, even things that were actually, like exclusive to us, some things which were going to be like our main forte are going to be taken away from us. It's just a matter of time before Eba or Eforio or even Ogono soup is going to be actually made in Japan if we are not careful.
Well, that is where the Ugumba Leadership Center comes in, and that is where His Excellency Ugumba Uche Wonsu is striving very hard not to happen. And that's why you see he keeps training the youth and women. He keeps giving them leadership skills. He keeps empowering them. He keeps motivating them. He keeps mentoring them to become leaders in Africa and take Africa to the next level. And really, with what you have said, and I was in one training yesterday, what AI is doing. Somebody asked that in the nearest future, AI is going to take our jobs from us. But there was good news there. One of the tech gurus said, no, AI cannot take the jobs of humans because you need human to operate these AIs. And sometimes AI lies. I realized yesterday that some of the things AI tell us are lies. You find out that AI also tells lies. Everything is not particularly true. And that's why we need people like you and Mr. Rajan to keep doing what you're doing so that we'll keep moving and motivating our youth and our women, taking them to the next level. We need to understand that in spite of whatever AI is doing, we need to also diversify and improve. For instance, if there's ogbono soup has different ways of making it, I am very sure and very certain that AI will not know all of the ways of making this ogbono soup. So that's why we need to keep imbibing new cultures, new ethics in our youth and women, so that they would have these skills of knowing if AI can make ogbono soup through frying, I will do ogbono soup in another way and I will still sell. Do you understand? So that's why we keep doing what we're doing, and that's why His Excellency keeps doing these trainings, this mentorship, bringing people like you to stage to talk to the youth and women, to let them understand that there are so many ways, so many ways, so many skills. You don't have to finish university and begin to wait for government job. No. Even before you finish university, start something. I was somewhere recently, and the man was telling me that due to the insecurity, they've closed schools and it's affecting his children. I asked him, I said, let the children go and learn a skill. He said, but they're just 10 years. I said, 10 years can learn a skill. Even less than 10 can learn a skill. Let them start learning something. They don't have to work with it now, but let them learn it instead of just sit at home and waste the time they have to be at home. Let them learn a skill. I have an adopted son that learned computer at the age of 9 to 10. Today, he's the one putting me through computer things, and he's just going into the university. It means that he has that knowledge, and then he will also have the knowledge of whatever he's going to learn. And while in university, he might not bother you for anything, because you will find him doing small jobs to make his own money. So I keep telling people, start them young. That's why we started Skill Up, so that we can train people. You might be an educationist, or you have one skill, but Ugumba has trained. Recently, we just concluded our Skill Up training, where we trained 200 people on 4 skills, sellable skills: paint making, pastry, catering, gelatin, and all of those, you find out that some of these people that we train, Mr. Rajan, let me tell you, I have one of them sent to me. She has started selling. She sent me videos and she was like, I made this and I sent it out to one supermarket and they sold. I have orders coming.
But
I have
Blessings,
another one.
let me throw something at you. We've done that as a center. And what Rhodrick's doing on his side is also empowerment. But what does the future look like in 10 years' time? If we have another COVID epidemic, the world closes down. If we have computers, AI, which can, in the next 5 years, through quantum computing, outthink us and outsmart us. Yes, they're not physically there, but everything that we now do is online. The question is, what jobs are we now creating? And it's not us. What careers are governments in Africa creating for their citizens to be able to be participants for? That woman who's making a soup is great, but that's only good if people have disposable income. What we need to be thinking now is deeper than ever before, because the reality is this, and for the audience to know, we had certainty up until this moment in 2025, because technology had been moving ahead very, very quickly, but it wasn't at that tipping point that job losses and masses were taking place. Now the IMF is saying we're going to see 30% job losses. 30% job losses in Nigeria is substantial, because it's not even 30%. That will be 60% unemployment levels. And who gets impacted is the youth. And it's going to be women, which means what do we do to support governments to not only now brand themselves internationally, but also become beacons of hope for all this international finances to find their ways in, whether it is places like Nigeria, or it is Malawi, or it is Zambia, or Zimbabwe, or Ethiopia. But we have to harness something bigger now than ever before. But that being said, I think, Rhodrick, I want to ask you a question before we wrap up.
Yeah.
If things across Africa at this moment in time do not change, and we've seen the events taking place in Tanzania, for example, where we're seeing the youth becoming more angry than ever before. If things do not change, what's your biggest fear that could happen? Knowing what you know by traveling around the world, conducting international business at the highest scale possible, and also having in-depth understanding of what public and economic diplomacy means, especially for governments.
For me, in a nutshell, to answer your question, it's going to be chaos. Okay? It's going to be chaos, and I cannot even imagine what actually our government, there will be a lot of disruption. You know, right now, we still have the old guard. You know, if we look at Uganda, for instance, Yoweri Museveni is almost, 90 years old. He still wants to run. Okay? Now, his majority of the people who are going to vote for him are 35 years old. They were born even before, after he became president. So if we don't change, we have all this massive youth. And unfortunately, the only people who are, or the only institutions who are, people, to have people like the senator, His Excellency, Uche, if we have 10, 20, 30 people like him in Africa, I can tell you that the answer is straightforward. We are okay. Okay. But these are lone individuals, We don't have people like him in Malawi who I can't think of anybody in Malawi who I can say, okay, we have got, like a senator like him, who is actually thinking, okay, this is what we want to do. So unless we change, okay, unless we'll give an example of Bangladesh. You know what happened in Bangladesh with the former Sheikh, was it Sheikh Hasina? I can't remember who it was. They took him out. Fortunately, they were able to hold the country together. But in Africa, the reality is going to be different. In Malawi, we had a president which, when we ushered him in 2019, 2020, everybody was hopeful, including myself. But 5 years down the road, we didn't want the guy. Fortunately, like for our listeners, the whole transition was peaceful. We had to bring back somebody who we thought was worse before. So the consequences of staying the course and not changing and not having, like all these centers like what we are having here, the discussion, we can't even think of it. It's going to be difficult because, like Blessings can agree with me, the majority of our population are the youth. They are hungry for success. They are not as patient as our mothers. They know their rights. They know what is happening in the world through a stroke of a keyboard, So my hope, like before I wrap up, I just wanted to say, what Blessings was saying on. I've been fortunate to work with the Asian community. What they do among the Asians is that they train the youth from young. If the father is a business person, they train the youth as a business person. They'll be able to give them the leisures when they're still. That's why we've got all these dynasties which are Asian. I mean, if you look at the economy, some of the richest people in England, they are actually of Asian origin. So the same way that Africans, we need to learn from our Asians, and we are lucky because we have an Asian diaspora, but also which is African, but also Asians who are Africans themselves, and they are running. So the future for us as Africans is that we should be having more of these centers, more of people like the senator, who are championing the cause. And if we can do that, work together, diaspora and the locals on the ground, Blessings, I can say that we have massive potential for Africa.
Brilliant. Yeah. I think wonderfully said.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful. I've drifted very far into the future, and I've drifted into the future like 10 years from now with what Mr. Rajan said. I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen, really? And it's actually as difficult as it is, but that's the truth. And the only way we're going to mitigate or survive this is with what we're doing, like you rightly said.
Yes.
And sincerely speaking, I wish and hope that in all African countries, we would have more people like His Excellency Ugumba Uchewosu doing the things he's doing in the right way. Not leaders who would just come and see you, put his hand in his pocket and give you 1,000 naira and give you 2,000 Q and votes. No, but real trainings and empowerment. Bring people to talk to the youth and women, train them, let them have something doing. Because I think in the next 10 years, like Mr. Rajan has said, if you have a skill, if you have a sellable skill, you would survive the economy. But if you don't, I'll tell you a story. During the 2019 COVID-19, I was in an accident and my leg was hanging, and there was lockdown everywhere. Online, I learned how to make some things, and I started selling those things, and I made money. When people were crying that COVID, and some people were committing suicide because of lack of money to feed, I was got some people, you see some people on their status, they say we have not eaten all day. I was able to send money to some people that buy food, do this. I made money during COVID-19. I made money sitting at home. And why was that? Because I learned a skill. I learned how to make yogurt and some other things. So I was actually making them. And no matter how the lockdown is, people must eat. People must eat. People must drink. There were no parties. We were not going to parties. We were not doing anything again. I'm a trained fashion designer. So because people were not going to parties anymore, my fashion store wasn't selling. So I quickly started making what people would eat. And people must eat. Because people must eat, that I made money. So if really a lot of people have learned, we have taught people skills, sellable skills now. These are skills that will sell in any circumstance. No matter the circumstance, you would make money with one or the two skills that we have taught. So really, I agree with you 100%, and I'm beginning to look into the future. I'm looking into the future, seriously into the future with this AI thing.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Blessings, for hosting this remarkable conversation. Rhodrick, it is a pleasure to see you speak to not just Nigerian youth, but right the way across the nation of Nigeria. I'm
Thank you.
looking forward to having many more conversations like this.
Thank
On
you.
that note, I am going to have to dash on my side. I have a 10 a.m., but
Yeah.
I wish you both extraordinary success in the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So
Thank you so much, Mr. Rajan. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Okay, the show continues. Mr. Rhodrick, I'm sure you have more things to tell us. The show continues, but before then, let me take some messages from the comment section so
That's
that
fine.
you would know what the people think. Okay, I have this from Mbewu, and she's saying, okay, yes, ma, you are correct. I first stories that he didn't know, just to tell that AI lies. Okay, I learned how to plait hair when I was at the age of 11 years. That's what we're saying, and today is selling. Matthew says Africans are creative and innovative, but our officials are not believing in them. I think to a large extent that is true. Our officials are really not believing in our youth. And then Nkiru Apara said, even me, I have started selling. That means she has started selling from the skill she just acquired in November through this center.
That's good.
Okay. Chioma Constance said, Nigerians are super talented. Daniel Abu said, I learned how to hatch fish 5 years ago, but no capital to start. Same problem we're talking about. And then Abel said, this skill up program is a wonderful experience. Sure. And Esther said, if we can get at least 5 people that can be and do like His Excellency Gumba Uchenwosu, more Nigerian youths will be self-employed. That's true.
That's true.
Esther also said they can even create job opportunities. Yes, because all these people that have learned skills and they've started selling, definitely they will employ 1 or 2 persons to work with them. And that is creating job opportunities. So I'm looking at the future whereby we don't have to wait for our leaders anymore. You learn a skill, you employ, you start up something, and you employ some other persons, which is actually the brain behind the skill up we just concluded. We wanted a situation whereby they learn sellable skills, they start up something, because we're going to empower them tomorrow to start up something. I'm going to share the link with you, Mr. Rhodrick, so you can join us online. We're going to empower them so they can start up something. And when you start up something, you will definitely employ 1 or 2 persons, train another 1 or 2 who would also go into the field and employ more people. That way, it will be a long chain of growth.
Yeah.
Then Reagan Alta, one of the major problems Nigeria and Africa is being faced with is outdated educational curriculum. We need to overhaul our educational system to a vocational-driven one, just like China and others. That's true. I think same too, because you see China from nursery, from pre-nursery, they started teaching them small skills.
I know.
Just how to draw butterfly and identify butterfly and constantly looking for eggs. I look for eggs all of my life. Today, I don't even know where the eggs is.
They will teach you how to draw the parts of the grasshopper.
And of grasshopper. For God's sake, where is that taking you to? Since I'm an adult now, I've not seen grasshopper to start looking for the parts. That has not benefited me in any way, but the skills that I've learned has benefited me. So I think we have to stop drawing grasshoppers and butterflies and get into real skills.
That's very true.
Aloma says, I need guideline on how to export Zobotis. Get back to me, Aloma. Empowering youth with sellable skills will cause a shift in our economy. That's true.
That's very true.
Okay. You people must be willing to get involved in the affairs of the nation, sure. And then somebody said, I started food processing and packaging earlier this year, but I was scammed. I bought palm oil. Oh, sorry. That's one of the problems we face in this country. And someone says, I like Malawi and would want to go there for vacation with my family. I think
tell them that they've got. I'll tell them where you can give them my number. If they're genuine, I'll happily guide them how to go to Malawi.
Okay, all of you that wants to go to Malawi to do 1 or 2 things,
just let me know.
Mr. Rhodrick has said he will guide you. So you get back to me. We would verify your genuinity before we connect you with Mr. Rhodrick, because we would not want anything that would dent any image.
Yes.
Daniel, DOP, you're looking. We need to start valuing our products. Yes, that's another thing. This story of Malaysian minister and that of Nigerian minister reflect the true nature of corruption in Nigeria. But is it a good credit to Nigeria? Well, okay, that's all I can take for now. So we can continue because we're rounding up shortly. This is supposed to be a 1-hour program so that Mr. Rhodrick can do other things. Mr. Rhodrick, you have the floor, please, so we can round up. Thank you.
No. So, firstly, I just wanted to say thank you to you, but my most important gratitude is to the Senator Ogumba Uche. I would love to invite him to Malawi, and I'll also be definitely coming to Nigeria. So I'll,
Oh wow, that's a good one.
Look, to our listeners, wherever you are. As long as you're African, you need to be proud, because some of us, we have been these parts of the world where Africans are in minority. And what we have is what people don't have here. We've got the resources, we've got the skill, we've got the land, we've got the weather, we've got everything in abundance, okay? People keep telling us that we are poor, okay? But I always say that Africa is not poor. Africa is not poor. It is the people of Africa or Africans who are poor. But Africa is not poor, because without Africa, we cannot have all these technologies. The key to me is we need to have these conversations, and we need to have leaders like, Senator Ogumba, who can provide these opportunities to us to say that, okay, guys, here's the platform, let's discuss. Because through these discussions and these conversations that we are having, one or two things will happen. Now I'm from Malawi. Through the Ogumba Leadership Center, you want to come to Malawi, contact them and say that, okay, you have a guest who said that they can bring us to Malawi, whether it is for tourism, whether it is for investment, for business, and all those kind of things. Can you facilitate? So through the Leadership Center, we can facilitate all that, because Africa is one. Everybody wants to come, to come together. It's only Africans who are working in isolation. So, once again, without more words, I would like to thank you, Blessings. You've made it wonderful. And as you said, hopefully these are going to be conversations that we'll be having in the future. I invite you to Malawi. And hopefully you invite me to Nigeria as well. We're going to do a lot of work in various aspects for our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rhodrick. Thank you so much. His Excellency Ogumba Uche wants to try severally to join us on this program, but I don't know, for some reasons, maybe because of where he is, he couldn't join, and he sends his greetings. And he has asked me to tell you thank you very much for honoring us. He's a very humble person that if he has his way to be on this call, he will be here. If you ask around, they'll tell you. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. We appreciate you. And we know that when we call you again soon, you would be here. I'll also tell him that you have invited him to Malawi.
Please.
And we are also ready to host you anytime in Nigeria. Just
thank you very much.
Give me a call and every other thing will be facilitated. I look forward to our discussions yesterday, our partnering to do all of the things we want to do. And I am sure that our viewers are very excited because we have very wonderful people in Nigeria. And like I told you, we have a very strong database. We have our women all over Nigeria in the whole 36 states plus FCT, the same with the youth. We have a very large platform such that if you want 10,000 women mobilized, instantly you get them. Same with our youths. That's why it's very easy for us to do the things we do. Ogumba Uche is a very simple person. If you visit his Facebook page, he interacts with you. He's not some of these leaders who feel that I'm a VVIP and I don't have to know. Once you write, he answers you instantly. In fact, I will tell you that my boss posts more than me. Sometimes I will be struggling with posting, and before you see it is already there, I will be like, wow, Oga. that is the kind of man he is. He's a very humble man. Very humble man. I'm going to share his number with you after this call, and I'm sure he would want to reach out to you. Thank you so much. And to our viewers, I appreciate you all. Thank you so very much. For our 50 finalists, I say congratulations again. See you all tomorrow at the empowerment. Tomorrow is going to be a very great day. And remember, the Ugumba Skill Up program is going to be quarterly. So the next edition I announced today is going to be in February. So make sure you follow our social media handles. Facebook is Ugumba Leaders, and follow Ugumba Uchewosu. You will get instant information. Immediately the information is coming out of the center, you are getting it. Thank you so much for being part of this show today. I'll invite you we'll resume this show again next year, January, because the year has rounded up, and we decided at the center that we're going to close this year with a wonderful topic. And Mr. Rhodrick, you did justice to that topic. Thank you so very much, everyone. Thank you, Africa. Thank you, Nigeria. Thank you, the world. Bye for now. See you next year. Thank you, Mr. Rhodrick.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Okay. Bye.